Like the debt ceiling was just approved in the Senate. I guess it cleared, just in time too, because this was the deadline today. If it wasn't approved, it would have been like the day before the debt ceiling hit, and then they go to default. But it was approved, so they can go to recess and do their strategic recess and all this other garbage. But it was barely approved in the House, but they had the votes, so whatever. So they got enough money to keep them going till March of 2015. Now the other question comes in, well, we know the debt's going to sell, but at what price? Is interest rates going to go up? I don't know. That's a good question because, that's what really seems to be the problem because, how much debt can they keep adding and keep interest rates near zero? And if the interest rates go up, what's going to happen to the government? They're not going to have enough money to pay for all the vitals because it's going to take, as it is, the debt service is a great deal percentage of what the government has to outlay every year. So, you know what I mean? It's gone into, and actually with them tapering, at the same time China's not adding more debt. I don't understand how this is all going to work out mathematically. In other words, how are you going to keep interest rates low to like zero and still keep adding debt? I'd like to sell IOUs to people, and I don't have to pay them back, and I'll just keep buying. I'll keep sending more IOUs to people with no interest on them and stuff like that, and you hold those IOUs, and if I need to borrow more money or pay a fraction of 1% on the money I did with the IOUs, I'll just issue more IOUs, right? Gee, I wish everybody could do that. That would just make me wealthy as all hell, right? Gee, that's what the government does, man. Actually, it's a freaking ridiculous game. But anyway, I expect, well, the one thing they always said now, it's common knowledge that the bond bubble is the bubble of all bubbles. You talk about the tech bubble being bad, the real estate bubble being bad, and, whatever, and the equities bubble being bad at one point in time. Now, I don't expect the stock market. I know there's a charts out there showing a correlation between the 1920s charts going up like this and the charts today, and then they showed a 1929 dive like this. The one thing I don't expect some crazy super bad correction because they got the tools to kind of stave off the problems, but I guess there's a limit to how much that's going to happen. In other words, they're going to keep using these tools like adding STP to the engine that needs repair until it blows up, until something really crazy happens, which may be the case. Maybe it's going to get out of control to the point where, but I always said this, before anything even gets out of control, insiders know better, and what they'll do is they'll have war. They'll have war to divert attention away from domestic problems. Now, actually, a lot of people will be predicting, I think that, well, I've been thinking this. Actually, it came close, legitimately, it did come close with having a conflict with Iran. Netanyahu was going to attack Iran back in late spring or early summer of 2012. That was the inside source, and the Mossad pulled him back. That's really like iffy. I do know that if that does happen, oil's going to go right through the freaking roof. It's going to be $200 a barrel. And I know there's some experts out there in the financial world that are trying to predict oil at, deflationary at $10 a barrel. Would you believe that? They can't even extract it for that much. No way in hell. I always laugh at somebody. I don't want to say who that is. It's a professional that's been around for decades that predicts $10 a barrel oil because of deflationary pressures. And it's not a blogger, it's not somebody like that. It's a professional. And I'm looking at that, I'm saying, you think the oil companies are going to freaking go bust and make oil $10, it's going to be $10 a barrel? No way in hell. Oil companies call the shots on the government, not the other way around, you know what I mean? And actually, oil is the thing that's propping up the U.S. dollar itself. The higher the oil prices, the more demand for dollars because oil is traded in dollars. See, this is why, but the other side of it is every time oil goes up, it kills the GDP. But then again, our GDP is actually, they're showing rosy numbers because in the GDP, but due to government spending, which they just increased the debt. Now, the real freaking mathematical crunch that's coming up to me, where it's like the numbers ain't going to be adding up. Who the hell are they going to sell the debt to? They're going to buy it back themselves, right? Well, like they're tapering QE, right? So they're not going to buy it back themselves. I'm wondering, how the hell is this going to work? Who's going to buy the debt? If they're tapering to QE, and China was one of the big borrowers, who the hell's going to buy the debt? And I'm thinking, yeah, maybe they will buy the debt if they make it more attractive where interest rates rise. But if they do that, that's going to kill the freaking government budget right there, because, whatever they budgeted, they're expecting like really low interest rates, and if interest rates rise, it's going to take a bigger slice out of the pie, and they'll run out of money way before March 2015. Right? I mean, it's freaking simple mathematical 101. I mean, it's nothing like conspiracy or nothing like, complicated. It's freaking mathematical 101. These jerks are spending too much money, and, the thing is, I don't give it, to me, I don't even give a damn if they spend a lot of money, but I wish it was on hard capital goods that are for infrastructure. If the government goes in debt for something for so many years, if it's to provide for, like, when they made the Hoover Dam or something like that, or the Shasta, water project in California or whatever, or they made, interstate highways, and these things were around for 50 years, but now they're freaking going in debt for freaking ridiculous garbage. And even if they went into debt and they were honest about, medical or something like that, and they're more honest about some of these, Chinese herbs or something like that, and say we had all these astragalus farms and we're growing astragalus root left and right, and they put a lot of money into that. Well, maybe that's going to have a benefit that's going to last for many, 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 many years. I mean, a lot of times this freaking money is just going into shit that's shit. That's shit. Skata, as they say in Greece, Skata. It's going into skata where it's like going nowhere, man. It's like garbage. It's like garbage. People do this even on a personal basis. They nickel-dime themselves into oblivion. They think it's only $1. They think it's only $5. They only think it's $1, $1.380 or whatever the hell it is. People do this garbage, and they don't sit there with a calculator all month. If they did, they realize that was several $100s they wasted. That they could have had an actual item that would last them for many years. This is a problem with the government. There's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse within the government. It's not even so much the spending that I got a problem with. It's the way it gets spent and the efficiency of the spending, and it's just the nature of the beast. That's why we need less government, because they don't make the best decisions, because it ain't their money, right? So anyway, but what does this do for silver? Actually, what I say is it's not going to be good for the U.S. dollar itself. But relatively speaking, the U.S. dollar, I don't think is going to, well, eventually, yes, it's going to get depreciated even against other currencies. It's not going to go away. But, what's really going to happen is I think hard assets are going to keep their upward climb. I'm in totally disagreement with this. I don't know, there's an expert out there that's, not a blogger or a one of these newsletter writers or anything like that, or amateur YouTube experts or whatever the hell they are. He says that gold will go to $750 an ounce. Oil's going to go to $10 a barrel. It's $10 a barrel on oil, right? I mean, I saw that and I was like, what an idiot. But, if you're going to predict low, really, 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 really low, for oil at 75 would be really, really low. Not 10. God. Anyway, and that wouldn't even last. But, with tensions in the Middle East, I don't know. If anything happens over the Middle East, it's going to go up so damn fast, it's going to surprise the hell out of you, but we don't know what's going to happen in the Middle East. I don't know. I just kind of guessed that with Iran, with their backing off, it looks like the deal is off with them. And, with them sending warships kind of near the United States, not in the United States, but, in the international waters off the coast, it seems like tensions are heating up even more. But, what's actually going to lead to the big, big, big problem is with China. China's energy hungry. I don't know. There's going to be a competition there at one point in time. I don't know exactly when, but it's obvious as all hell. And, if there's ever going to be a real problem in the dollar, it's going to be during time of conflict with China. It's kind of like going on low profile right now a little bit, even in a way, because, when China's expanded their territorial waters and all this kind of garbage like that, they're playing games with the U.S. Navy, like, here's my ship, here's a ship coming at you, and you got to turn or else you'll crash into me, and all this kind of garbage. It's like already heating up. It takes a long period of time. I don't think it's going to happen right away, but who the hell knows? If something happens with Iran and the U.S. is busy over there, I don't know. You don't know what the hell can happen. That's really how things happen, isn't it? If you look back at World War II, World War I, that's how it happened. A little bit here, a little bit, a little bit. If you're in that little bit, it feels like a great bit. But, I mean, it's like it starts in slow pieces. So that could be the demise of the dollar in that respect, but I think that's some years away. But for this year, I'd almost expect, I don't see how they're going to keep interest rates down. And if they don't keep interest rates down, they're going to run out of money before the March of 2015, and it's going to actually, I don't know. To me, it's like, I don't know. Nobody knows. But the thing is, I keep thinking back about the guys that do know, which was Paul Volcker, who said about a year and a half ago that the real problems would start around March 2014 if they didn't resolve things right after the election. And they didn't. And the other guy was David Walker, who basically has the title of, it's something else, but he's basically like the chief accountant of the United States. He has a different title. And if he said the same thing. And there was another top advisor to Rockefeller that said the same thing, gave the time frame around March 2014. I just keep thinking, how the hell are they going to sell bonds if they're not buying them back themselves? In other words, they could sell bonds at higher interest rates, but how are they going to keep interest rates low and sell bonds? And, that's the big contention now that's pretty much all over, that maybe it's not mentioned too much in the mainstream, but it's still mentioned somewhat, is the bond bubble. The bond bubble. Bond bubble might go, there could be a problem with that damn thing. And, that's going to be the next deal. And if that burst, I don't know, guess gold and silver will go way the hell up. Despite some of the predictions that gold will go to 750 or whatever. This guy that's been around, he's been predicting shit for about, he makes a living on it for like 30 years, I don't know. I would never predict $10 an hour, $10 a barrel oil. Ugh, you got to be kidding me. I think it cost them, they'd be broke. They wouldn't sell any. They wouldn't even sell any. If I was the oil company, it was $10 a barrel, I'd stop. I wouldn't do nothing. That's what I'd do. I'd say closed. Get the hell out of here. That's why sometimes these predictions are ridiculous. But on the other side, when I talked even $200 a barrel, I'm talking spiking up that high. If that happens, the economy's going to go. It's going to crash, man. It's going to be like widespread freaking problems where people can't even drive to work. There won't be shortages, but people will be so damn broke. It would eat up their money so fast. Well, I guess alternative energy would really come out then, and people would be studying Nikola Tesla left and right and figuring out what he done, because their back is to the wall, because necessity is the mother of all invention, right? But I don't, when I say even if it gets up, if Iran gets attacked and there's like a problem with Saudi oil refineries and stuff and they're getting destroyed, and even if the Straits of Hormuz are kept up, if there's all this, if there's oil taken off the global market from Saudi and Iran, it's going to bring oil up that fast, really fast. But it can't be sustained at that price. I know that. I just don't know how long it's going to be up that high, and it could even go higher than 200. I would think that would be a low ballpark figure if there was a real war with Iran. So I don't know when that's going to happen, though. It's maybe coming up. I don't know. But if that happens, gold is going to go way up, and so is silver. And, I just don't know who the hell's going to be buying U.S. bonds. Buying U.S. debt. Yeah, they voted the debt up. We voted for more debt for another year. We voted for debt limit. Now, I want to point out something else, because this goes hand in hand with the communist regime that happened in Russia that was even backed, I know it was backed by the Western elite. The communist, the original Bolshevik revolution was backed by Western elite. I know, I'm aware of that. I've been aware of this crap for decades. nobody needs to tell me links and stuff. I read all this stuff, but you know, it was always this. The real thing was the communists did was they made sure they got the guns first, right? They got them from the ex-military officers and the population and all that stuff like that. The Red Army could have been stopped almost immediately, or the Red Revolutionaries could have been stopped immediately in Moscow, but it was only a handful of people that really tried to stop them. And very honorably, they really put a hurt on them, but they were like so outnumbered. But so many people sat by and did nothing. The main game is with communism is to get control of all the guns, right? So I know a lot of silver people are into independence because they want physical metals, they want physical wealth, and they want to protect themselves, in a physical way. That's why they have a gun, right? Now, I want to point out something else because it's not related to something I do, but, it's kind of along the same lines of, the silver community, whatever. There's actually a ex-Florida state trooper. I'm going to put a link down here in the information box, so, I don't know if people are all aware of this, but it's very good. Unlike some of the conspiracy theories about the Sandy Hook shooting in Connecticut, this is unrelated to silver, but in a way it is related to it. The Sandy Hook shooting in Connecticut that actually tried to push through a lot more gun control and actually pushed through a lot more gun control in the state of Connecticut. There's an ex-Florida state trooper who also trained, I think he trained hundreds of school superintendents on security, and he was a school superintendent. And there's a piece, there's like... I'm going to point to the link, and I'm also going to point to his interview, and he tells that he doesn't even think there was even any deaths there. And, that kind of makes sense because, I never saw any evac helicopters. I saw news helicopters. I didn't see evac helicopters with, they're trying to pull out children and trying to save them. Even if the children were shot right there, they said their heart stopped, they thought they would still try to emergency medevac them out and try to save them, right? You didn't see any of this stuff, but he goes over a lot of stuff. I'm not going to try to rehash it, but it looks like there's a government plot, or let's not put it a government plot, because the Florida State Trooper is government, okay? There's a poor part of people in the government, some bad people in the government, I don't want to say anti-government, that are trying to disarm the population of the United States. And, this is actually, the first step this is the main step that you need to install a totalitarian system. And that's what they did in Russia and China. You know it. They did it in Russia especially. Russia was well armed, man. Russia had a stable economy, a stable system. They had, their money, the ruble was rock solid for centuries until the Bolsheviks took over. And this guy Putin is a pile of bullshit. So, people don't like hearing that. I'm saying, man, this guy, he's a scam too, man. Big time. But anyway, I'm going to put that link down here in the bottom of the video so you can see that. But, I just want to state that even though they raised the debt ceiling, I don't know how the hell they're going to keep interest rates low. That's the main point on this video, because even though the debt ceiling has cleared, the major crisis where it looks like everything's all set, unless the president doesn't sign off on it. I don't know. That'd be the only thing I could think of, and it should, but it should be good to 2015, but I don't see how the hell they're going to keep interest rates low and backing off QE, and China's not buying our debt. So, bond bubble kablooey. And if the bond bubble goes kablooey, and if the interest rates go up and all this kind of stuff like that, and there's going to be a lot of, and then if the interest rates go up, it's going to eat up the government budget, and what's going to happen then? There's going to be a lot of tension at home, and they're going to try to crack down on all the freaking dissidents and all this other shit like that. And guess what? They're going to need, they don't want an armed population in the United States. That's the problem. They don't want that shit. It's the same game that the freaking Bolsheviks played in Russia in 1917. And, it looks like there's elements, let me put it this way, not the government per se, because, some people say it's the government. Well, it's not all the government. It's elements in the government that are backed by basically elitists that are looking to disarm the population. And, maybe this Sandy Hook thing was a whole freaking hoax. Maybe it really was. I don't know. I actually think so, but some people look at that and say, "You're so conspiratorial." But let me point to the link by the Florida State Trooper, who's an expert in his field, and he brings up a number of questions, so you can look at it for yourself. But this all goes hand in hand with tearing up everybody's freedoms, financial freedoms, and every other type of freedom there is. So over and out. So it looks like the budget has been passed, but so what? Anyway, I don't know how they're going to keep interest rates low and keep borrowing. That's ridiculous.